Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode here of New Album Spotlight, the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock or related genres that I want to recommend to you guys. If you have similar taste in music as me, these are the albums that I think are truly excellent and deserving of people's attention and time. And I'm really excited to talk about it. So today we have Jonas Lindberg and The Other Side, and the album is called Time Frames. Jonas Lindberg and The Other Side, this is a project that was founded in Stockholm, Sweden in 2012. Swedish prog rock project. And Jonas Lindberg is very much influenced by some of my heroes in music. So I feel a very close connection with his music, and that's why I've fallen in love with it so deeply. And it's kind of fascinating to me because instead of being inspired by the classic 70s prog artists, Genesis, Yes, Jethro Tull, all of those, he instead cites his influences on some of the more modern groups that have come about, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, such as Neil Morse, Spock's Beard, flavored stuff, and Flower Kings. Those are probably the two most prominent. Transatlantic. Pretty much anything Neil Morse related, anything Roy Stolt related, put that all in a blender, in a pot, and add his own unique stamp to it, and you've got a pretty good idea of the sound that you're going to be hearing on this record. So and that's really cool to me. So he's talked about in interviews how he's not really directly inspired by some of those 70s prog artists, but maybe indirectly inspired by them because he's inspired by Spock's Beard and Flower Kings, who are themselves inspired by Yes and Genesis and Jethro Tull, Gentle Giant, all of those artists. So it's kind of fun to see this kind of generational feel to this album, that this is, maybe the grandchild of the prog rock of the 70s. And I really love the aesthetic of this album. It's upbeat and positive and fun and quirky, epic when it needs to be, very accessible and melodic. These are all the things that I love in modern progressive rock, and it ticks all those boxes in grand fashion. I'm just a really big fan of what he's going for here. His previous album was Miles from Nowhere from 2022, which I also reviewed on the channel and spoke quite highly of. I think this is a bit of a step up from that record, which was already excellent and definitely in this style and vein. That album even featured Roy Stolt on guitar on a track, on, I believe, the Big Epic track. But this one, that record was released on Inside Out Music, which is kind of the big name record label for this style of progressive rock. For some reason, this album is not on Inside Out. I don't know the reasons behind it, if the label just decided not to move forward with Jonas Lindberg, or he just wanted to take his own path and craft his own album himself. Regardless, this album sounds just as great as Miles from Nowhere production-wise, and it has basically the same cast of characters, so it feels very much in the same wheelhouse and the same world. If you loved Miles from Nowhere and are familiar with that record, this is going to be a no-brainer pick. This is going to be just as good. So Jonas Lindberg talks about the title of the album, the theme of the album perhaps. Time Frames is referring to the album being made through lots of mini deadlines, sort of like the guitars were recorded during this time frame and the mixes had to be finished within that time frame. The last album was made during the pandemic when we all had a lot of time on our hands. This time around, it had to be done while juggling all of these other things too. So that's the idea behind the Time Frames name of the record. That there was deadlines, that this was kind of done in these different set time frames that they had to squeeze in while juggling the rest of their normal lives, whereas the previous record was a product of the pandemic and being able to have all the time that they needed to record what they wanted. So that gives this a different feel, I suppose, and maybe gives it more of a sense of urgency and freshness and fun. that maybe the previous record was a little bit more laid back and less identifiable. I feel like this record has more of a signature stamp to it, but definitely heavily inspired by the artists I've mentioned, which is only a positive from my perspective. Jonas Lindberg does a ton of the instrumentation here on this record: basses, keyboards, acoustic and electric guitars, mandolin, ukulele, programming, lead vocals, backing vocals. He's got a cast of characters with him as well, helping. We've got Jonas Sundvist on lead vocals on several tracks. We've got Jenny Storm on lead vocals on several tracks. Cal Schoenig on electric guitars. Nicholas Thielen on acoustic and electric guitars. Joel Lindberg on electric guitars, which I believe is Jonas Lindberg's brother. Maria Olsen on percussion, which I believe is his girlfriend, if I remember correctly from interviews. Jonathan Lundberg on drums, and Connie Lindgren on violins. So some various musicians. I kind of like the vocal blend because they split up vocals between basically three different vocalists. Jonas Sundvist has a really powerful, cool vocal that gets spotlighted and has a lot of lead sections, but Jonas Lindberg himself does a lot of the lead vocals as well on some of the other tracks. And Jenny Storm adds a lot, especially in the background vocals, but also has some spotlighted moments like in Galactic Velvet in particular. But it's just a fabulous track list. Every track has something interesting, worth digging your teeth into. I really love End of the Road, the beginning track of the record, which I found funny because Car Mechanic, which is a band very much in this same style vein, coming from the school of Flower King's thought, had a track called End of the Road on their latest record, Transmutation, another Jonas in the Swedish prog space, doing a track with the same title, very much in the same lane, very much the same length, kind of these mini epics that are both incredible. But this one stands on its own beyond that. It starts with big symphonic themes, very much in that transatlantic kind of universe, before the sound gets sucked out and we get a cool guitar line with vocals and drums with kind of a cool groove to it. Great female vocals are added to give a wonderful element, a great rocking, catchy chorus, some almost bluesy keys and a driving beat, and plenty of symphonic keyboard bliss. This has everything that I love about modern progressive rock in it. There's a great guitar solo that's very emotive and fun, lots of prog quirky goodness. They of course return back to the themes at the end in glorious fashion to a great finale, played sweetly on piano and acoustic guitar. Just has the full package of modern progressive rock, much like Spock's Beard did in their prime. And I'm a big fan of this. This really sucked me into the record right off the bat. And then it proceeds with more of a light-hearted tune called Someone Like Me, acoustic guitars and vocals, a bit of an introspective feel to the singing here. Then you add in some shuffling drums and bass to add a bit of weight and kind of a fun, more bouncy feel to it. But it's much lighter on the prog elements, kind of a palate cleanser after this bigger epic that came before it. But has that kind of fun, light-hearted, positive, Flower Kingsian sound. Very fun, very cool track. Faces of Stone is another winner. This was, I believe, the first single of the record, and it just has that 90s prog nostalgia. Definitely quirky and upbeat and melodic, great harmony vocals, great persistent acoustic guitar throughout the piece with that ever-present Dave Merrow-style bass line. Fantastic. These first three tracks really brought me into the record in fantastic fashion, and I think they're all worthy of listening to and getting yourself immersed into this prog style that he's known for. After this, Galactic Velvet, like I mentioned, is kind of a showcase for those female vocals. We get a more spacey kind of Pink Floyd style feel, and it's very much like kind of washes over you and isn't very rocking perhaps, but more atmospheric and just kind of gives you this spacey, groovy feel that you might expect from a Pink Floyd track. Groovin' is an instrumental that's fun, folky, features some acoustic guitar intercut with the full band flavor. I believe Groovin' is it means the mine, but I think it's kind of fun that it kind of has this double meaning of it's just a very groovy song, perhaps. We get some cool synth soloing throughout the track. We get persistent rhythms, almost a country twinged Steve Howe style guitar kind of comes out of the woodworks here and there throughout the track. And it just continues forward to get more lively, more bouncy, more fun, more proggy as it continues along its runtime for one of the most fun moments of the record. I love this 8.5 minute instrumental powerhouse with some blistering guitar solos and epic endings. Really worth your time. I think it was released as a single track, and I think this one's worth listening to if you want to get a feel for some of his style. I think this is a cool one to look at. Running Out of Time is probably one of the weaker tracks of the record for me, but still very pleasant. Some flute sounds and strumming chords and piano notes come in. It's more of a weighty ballad. Some intense walls of sound at sections, giving it a bit more weight and a bit more variety. And we get a cool classical infused musical break with piano and acoustic guitar before getting some proggier soloing. But it's a really fun little track. Like I said, doesn't stand out quite as much as some of the others around it, but I think it fits in place perfectly well here and gives a great prelude to the big epic that comes at the end called The Wind, which is 17.5 minutes long. Starts, as you might expect with a prog epic, atmospheric, plenty of soundscapes and tinkling sounds. Big themes are presented in big epic fashion before we get brighter acoustic sounding fare and warm vocals. This definitely has that Neil Morsean feel, how it's constructed, and how it has this kind of very melodic sing-along style feel for a lot of this. We get some beautiful acoustic guitar chiming with pretty vocals and interspersed jazzy bass lines. And there's intercut with these like hard rock style sections that are much more straightforward and less proggy, but then they bring back the prog and ramp it up towards the end to satisfy even the most intricate prog listener in my eyes. Love the epic, like Steve Howe style guitar solo that closes the piece before you get a small little piano coda. Plenty of great prog moments throughout this runtime, and a great epic to end the record on, and showcases some extreme talent from one of the rising stars of the young prog scene. I really enjoy this record. It speaks to my Spock's Beardian and Flower King style heart. I love those bands. Those are probably my two favorite bands, all told, if I was being honest with myself. They're the ones that drew me into prog. I was immersed in it with my dad's love of prog from the 70s, but these were the bands I first discovered that felt like my bands, that I had found my home in music. And to hear someone pay homage to those artists is really satisfying. In fact, Jonas Lindberg is kind of my spirit animal of sorts. Like if I was even slightly musically talented like these artists that I idolize and talk about, this would be probably the music that I would try to come up with, that I would focus on. These would be my influences as well. And so I'm just really grateful for artists like Jonas who have that musical talent, who are able to bring it to life in full form and fashion, sounding absolutely fantastic, great production values, and just letting this music live, this bouncy, fun, quirky, but melodic progressive rock that I yearn for and just get excited about and talk about ad nauseum on this channel. So hopefully you guys are into that like I am. If you watch my channel regularly, you probably are a fan of this style music, so this should be an easy home run for most of my listeners and watchers. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the music out there. Let me know if you've heard some of the singles or have heard an early copy of this release. The actual album comes out officially on the 7th of November, so this upcoming Friday. Luckily, I've had an early release copy, so I've been able to immerse myself in it for quite some time. But hopefully you guys can get your hands on it and enjoy it as much as I have. Been fantastic. One of my top releases for this year. Definitely will be featured in my end of year top 16 album tournament that I love doing. So thank you guys so much for supporting me, for joining me on this episode. Hopefully you'll stick around and join me for more episodes. Subscribe if you haven't yet. I do these reviews pretty regularly. I'm also doing a big October roundup that I'm putting out around the same time of other albums throughout the month of October that I think are worth your time and attention that I haven't been able to spotlight and focus on. That should be a fun episode as well. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you guys hopefully in a future episode. Bye, everybody. Enjoy the music.